roll calls, 1963. In its first 18 weeks, the 88th Congress passed only one of 25 major pieces of legislation desired by the administration. 50 United States representatives from 20 states and 9 United States senators made perfect scores on roll call votes as men who honor their oath to uphold the Constitution. This is the best Congress we have had in a long time. You who understand and respect constitutional principles and who have exerted yourself to extend your viewpoint are responsible for this resistance to administration programs which are dragging our republic into the quagmire of totalitarian socialism. Kennedy threatens to purge Congress of constitutional conservatives. We, the people, should meet this challenge head-on and purge Congress of liberals. That is a summary of my report on First Roll Calls, 1963. The full report after a message from my sponsor. In the report on which this broadcast is based, I have recorded roll call votes taken in the U.S. House of Representatives and in the Senate. Votes on 7 important pieces of legislation in the House, 6 in the Senate. In the roll call votes which I tabulate, it is harder than on any other tabulation for members of Congress to make good scores as men who honor their oath to uphold the Constitution. I try to select for tabulation only those roll call votes which reflect a clear-cut stand for or against constitutional principles. I have little respect for middle-of-the-roaders. They seem to be men with no philosophy of government, no convictions, no courage. They just veer with the wind, sometimes voting for constitutional principles, sometimes against, apparently standing for nothing. I am not interested in economy-minded legislators. I regard a $1 billion foreign aid program as bad in principle as a $4 billion foreign aid program. A $1 billion urban renewal program is as unconstitutional as a $10 billion urban renewal program. If legislators vote to spend any tax money at all on programs which are not clearly authorized by some grant of power in the Constitution, they are voting liberal, which means against constitutional principles. I do not believe in reducing unconstitutional programs. I believe in cutting them out. All of this being understood, you who believe in limited constitutional government will be encouraged to know that on the basis of roll call votes made in Congress during the first 18 weeks of 1963, the present 88th Congress is thus far the best Congress we have had in a very long time. 18 weeks after the 88th Congress convened, Congress had approved only one of 25 major pieces of legislation desired by President Kennedy. This congressional resistance to the Kennedy program in 1963 reflects the dedicated yet often frustrating efforts of American constitutional conservatives who keep themselves informed and keep the Congress informed on how they feel. A surprising number of constitutional conservatives in all parts of the country spend a great deal of time, energy, and money in support of constitutional principles. They write their elected representatives, and they distribute conservative materials to friends, urging them to write. Many eventually write me in tones of despair, saying their efforts do no good because Congress ignores their viewpoint. The roll call votes in Congress for the first 18 weeks of 1963 show otherwise. In the roll call votes which I tabulated, 50 United States representatives earned 100% ratings as constitutionalists, and they were not concentrated in a few states generally known to be conservative. Those 50 U.S. representatives with perfect scores as men who, when they had to stand and be counted, honored their oath to uphold the Constitution, came from 20 states scattered all across the face of our great land. California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Missouri, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New York, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Washington, Wisconsin, Wyoming. Have you ever noticed what stirring music there is in the names of the American states? Listen to them. Here are the names of states with United States senators who, in my first roll call tabulations for 1963, have perfect voting records. Arizona, Idaho, Illinois, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Texas, Utah, Wyoming. 39 states of the Union have 120 United States representatives and 23 United States senators with voting records of 80% or better on my first roll call tabulation of 1963. And you who know and care can take credit. It was you who created a widespread regard in the public and in the Congress for the principles of liberty embodied in our Constitution. You did it by exhausting, expensive effort, buying and passing out material to inform and arouse others, writing letters, talking, going to meetings, making telephone calls, sending telegrams, effort which you often feared was doing no good at all. You who know and care have the first and major job to do in restoring a free and independent American constitutional republic, the job of scattering the seeds of thought. It is, more often than not, a discouraging, frustrating job because you never know which seeds will sprout and grow and produce a harvest. You can't wait around to see, you must keep scattering. But as shown very clearly by the congressional roll call votes tabulated in the Dan Smoot report, the seeds you scatter are producing a harvest. If the men and women of America who know and care keep trying, we will ultimately have a Congress which obeys our Constitution, and that Congress will save the Republic. By the end of March 1963, it was widely reported that Robert F. Kennedy, Attorney General, had prepared a list of conservative Democrats whom the Kennedy administration plans to purge from Congress in 1964 because of their opposition to Kennedy programs. Kennedy has denied the reports, but the Washington Star has published details of meetings held by COPE, official action arm of the political action arm of the AFL-CIO, at which the purge program was discussed, meetings attended by officials of the National Democrat Party. The people should meet this Kennedy challenge head-on. They should purge liberals from Congress in 1964. Here are some of the issues involved in the roll call votes which I have been talking about and tabulated. The Urban Mass Transportation Bill, passed by a narrow margin in the Senate in April 1963, but as of the middle of May, not yet voted on in the House. This thing would provide $375 million federal tax dollars to states and cities to buy out private transportation firms or to improve them under semi-private ownership. The bill would cost all of us billions of dollars and would be another giant stride toward government seizure and ownership of all transportation facilities in the United States. The Wilderness Bill, approved by the Senate but not out of committee yet in the House. This bill would put millions of acres of land under tight control of appointed federal bureaucrats, authorizing them to buy and add to their domain private lands. In this vast domain, the bureaucrats would have autocratic power to permit or prohibit commercial activity, prohibit private capital from developing hydroelectric power facilities, but permit government-owned power facilities, permit or prohibit the grazing of livestock, permit or prohibit the building of roads, permit or prohibit mining and prospecting, all in accordance with the wishes of the President. A bill to create a youth conservation corps, approved in the Senate by a narrow margin but not yet out of committee in the House. This bill would create an American counterpart of government youth organizations, which are essential tools of dictatorship in all communist countries as they were in Nazi Germany and in fascist Italy before World War II. The International Peace Corps. In October 1962, representatives from various nations met in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and decided that, in addition to the American Peace Corps, there ought to be an International Peace Corps. Kennedy's representative at the meeting promised $150,000 to finance the new international outfit during a trial period. Congress was told nothing about this commitment to spend tax money, and does not know which slush fund of tax dollars Kennedy took the money from. In May 1963, the House, which is supposed to initiate all money bills, got its first formal inkling of what was going on when it was asked to endorse a Senate measure authorizing $65,000 as the American contribution to the International Peace Corps. Even Congress does not know whether this request was to make up part of what the Kennedy administration had already given the International Peace Corps, or whether it was to help initiate the new outfit's permanent operations. The House refused funds for the International Peace Corps. The complete roll call votes on 12 important pieces of legislation are tabulated in the report on which this broadcast is based, together with a brief discussion of each piece of legislation involved. You who order copies of this broadcast will get the published report. In it, you can see how your United States Representative and your 2 United States Senators voted. This will give you an opportunity to do what you really should do. You should write to congratulate representatives and senators who have decent voting records, some of them for the first time since they have been in Congress. This is important. Members of Congress hear from organized left-wing groups who believe in the total state. They should also hear from the people who believe in American constitutional government. And now a special word to all of you, those of you who have written me, telling me that you appreciate these broadcasts, and those of you who may appreciate the broadcasts who have not written me. Remember that these broadcasts are brought to you under commercial sponsorship. If it were not for the business firms which sponsor these broadcasts, there would be no broadcasts. And remember that it is very important for you, if you believe in these broadcasts and think that they're doing any good, to support the commercial firms that bring them to you. I am Dan Smoot. Goodbye. God bless you. For a printed copy of this broadcast, send 25 cents to Dan Smoot, Dallas 14, Texas, and ask for 406. First roll calls, 1963. 6 copies, $1.